Everybody ready? Good morning, everyone. This is the Delaware County Commissioner meeting. It's Monday, December 4th, 2023, times 9:01. Let's open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Ed. Could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry.
Here.
Mr. King. Here. Reagan.
Present.
Mr. Burke. Here. Ms. Smith.
Here.
Okay, we'll go to tabled business. I'd recommend we just leave that on the table for now. Okay.
Yeah.
Approval of the minutes for the Commissioner meeting, November 20th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the minutes and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Mr. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
I'd like to give a shout out to Mr. Carroll and Ms. Smith, Mrs. Smith here, that they do such a nice job on our minutes, and the last month, last meeting was very, just a lot of talking, and she did a nice job on that.
You do a nice job, Denise. We appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Put that on the record, please. Thank you, Sherry.
Next is presentations to the Commissioners, ECIS WD.
We have a presentation, but having some technical difficulties. So we are the East Central Indiana Solid Waste District. My name is Susan Eichhorn. This one. My name is Susan Eichhorn, and this is Kyle Shrink. He's the director. I'm the assistant director. We are a office that we're located in Anderson, but we cover Madison, Grant, and Delaware counties, and we promote recycling and promote special waste reduction and anything to do with trash and trying to do better for the earth regarding trash. We are here to call out, we need volunteers for our Citizens Advisory Board. So we wanted to tell you a little bit about ourselves. We are a special taxing district. We have 3 partnerships within the county that help us with our waste reduction. We have the Madison County Recycling Center in Anderson. We have the Grant County Recycling Center north of Gas City, and we partner with East Central Recycling. Over half of our budget goes back to those partners because we can't teach about recycling and waste reduction if we don't have partners that help us with those materials. I think what else I was going to tell you about. I think that's it. I think you're up next. Sorry, we tried to have it ready to go.
We really did have a really nice PowerPoint presentation for you this morning, but it's doing an update apparently. Maybe it is coming up.
How many people are you needing on your board?
We are looking for up to 5 people from each county. Madison, Delaware, and Grant counties. We currently, because the pandemic kind of slowed us down, so we have a few members, but we'd like to expand for 2024. So we're looking for some more. The state legislature would like for us to have representatives from the waste and or recycling industry. Second tier would be environmental backgrounds. And then after that, we're always obviously looking for people that are interested in the community place.
And you might add, Kyle, that it's a nonprofit, or it's a no-pay
It's a
board,
volunteer.
but they do get reimbursed for
We
mileage.
can reimburse for miles, but it is a volunteer position. Looks like we're gonna get our PowerPoint up and running after all.
Sorry, have some that. Okay, this is where we are. We cover 3 counties. There are about 70 solid waste districts in Indiana. Not very many of them are multi-county, but we happen to be a multi-county district, which helps us give a little more power back to our counties. This is our board of directors. So Sherry and James are on our board of directors, along with the mayor from Muncie, Anderson, and Marion. Those are our partners I already told you about. These are some of the services that we provide and why my pictures aren't loading. So we do social media, we do programs in schools, we have a special bin loan program that we offer to people to borrow for their events. I just checked this presentation last night. It's so annoying that it's not working today.
You're
We
doing a
had
great
big
job.
Downtrend, there's a graph that should be right there, and I don't know why it's not there. We had a big downtrend on our recycling numbers in 2020 because of the pandemic, so it affected, oh yay, it's back. Okay, so the big dip was because of the pandemic, just like it affected everything, it definitely affected our recycling numbers, and they're starting to trend up, thankfully. In 2022, we collected more than 10,000 tons of materials, so that's a lot. Now, some of our numbers include not just household recyclables, but it includes refrigerators and tires and hazardous waste like chemicals from your house. And there's what we need about our citizens advisory.
So basically what we're looking for, we're looking for volunteers that can come to our meetings twice a year. We usually meet in May and October. We discuss current trends, the programs we have, ideas for new programs going forward. We are a government agency. We're a regional, multi-county, 3 counties. We do have binding review on our budgets. We're set up, we go to Madison County because they're the largest net assessed valuation in our district. But we would like to get a Citizens Advisory Committee up and running for 2024. Typically, it's mid-May, mid-October is when we meet. Must be a resident of Madison, Delaware, Grant County. Preferably, as we said, somebody that's employed in the waste industry or with a background in solid waste issues. It is a volunteer position. We typically have met in Anderson over the years. We're not opposed to moving around depending on the membership of our Citizens Advisory Committee. We do ask occasionally that somebody from the Citizens Advisory Committee comes to our Board of Directors meetings. Usually that's, again, once or twice a year. It's not required, but it is nice. We did bring some forms with us today. We do have some little forms. I'll leave some with you guys. Also, if you go to our webpage, in the bottom right, the little yellow box, you can download the form right there. It's in PDF form, and it's got instructions on how to return it to us. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. If not, thank you for your time this morning.
Great, thank you, and, nice job. And I would like for you to stress how people can take things to, Centennial, even though they live out in the county.
Yeah, it's part of our partnership. We have a partnership with Bestway that runs the East Central Recycling, facility there on, 700 East Centennial. Residents can take quite a few things there. It's on our website, which we don't have that part up. But if you go to our website or Muncie Sanitary's website or East Central Recycling, there's a list of a lot of things that we do take through that facility, but it is open to all residents of Delaware County. So,
So that's a drop-off location.
it is a drop-off.
5 days a week.
Yeah,
for
they're
the-
actually open on Saturdays too. They have some Saturday hours, but,
Okay.
it
They
is
they can
5 days a
take
week.
paint and tires and the stuff that you're not allowed to put in your toter.
All special waste, and most of that, we actually pay through our budget as well. We give grants to our partners. Roughly half of our budget goes back directly to those programs. We give $290,000 a year goes back in grants, for operational grants for the 3 counties to have those facilities. And then we do pay for a lot of the special waste that actually run through those facilities as well.
And that also includes the small towns. People who live in the small towns can
Yes.
take.
If you're it has to be a resident, but not businesses.
Yeah.
That go through our program, but residential, yes, household waste.
Okay.
I know that would save, maybe even if we can bring them from the highway, because we pick up so many out in the county, and, people, they could just take them there and save our guys picking them up and,
That's part of the programs that we do. So, and we're always there for questions too. If anybody has any questions, you go to our website, there's a phone number on there, you can call us and we can help you if you have something you don't know what to do with. Even if it's not something we can take through our facility, we will try to help you, point you in the right direction.
very good,
Thank you very much.
yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
I will leave some of these forms.
Give them to Sarah right there.
All right, next we'll go to the contracts and agreements for approval. LexisNexis contract with Emily.
Good morning, Emily Anderson, Court Administrator. This is the other contract for the law books for the judges. This is all the civil and criminal jury instructions that they have to have a copy of each year. This is a 3-year contract. They don't do a 5-year contract like the other one. And if you notice, it starts on December 1st. He said he would backdate it since he didn't get me the contract in time for the last meeting. So this will be through December of 2025.
So moved.
Second,
I have taken a look at this contract, and in all honesty, the judges are getting the same price I get, so.
yeah,
This is paid for through the courts.
Through the court budget, yes. It's already been budgeted.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Roll call, please.
Mr. King? Yes. Ms. Reagan?
yes,
Mr. Henry?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have New World Access and Software, Mr. Fluke.
Morning, Commissioners. Jim Fluke from the IT Department. I've been approached 3 of the small town agencies to give them additional access to the New World. And after discussing it with the Commissioners, it was decided that they needed to pay for part of the extended amount of the money that was going to cost the county to hook those particular MDTs up. So with the new agreement that I have with our Sophos, which is our antivirus, and with NetMotion, which is the in-between software that runs between the MDT and the downtown here to get to the New World, the $200 cost was established, and I had presented this to Commissioner Henry a couple of weeks ago, and everything looked to be okay. The agreement's basically year to year, and I've asked the agencies, which are Callan Schools, which is the SRO officer from Eaton, Delcom Schools, the SRO officer from Eaton also, and the Gaston PD has added a new unit to their force and asked for the additional license. So I need approval, if you have any questions on it, to move on with it. I will proceed to bill these January 1st and every year after that, until they decide they don't need that service or it's discontinued, which I kind of doubt it. But if there's any questions on it?
Make a motion to approve.
second,
We have a motion to approve these agreements and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. King? Yes. Ms. Reagan?
yes,
Yes. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Next, we have agreement to provide legal services, Delaware County Election Board, Mr. Spangler.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rick Spangler, Delaware County Clerk. In front of you is the agreement for Donald McClellan to represent the election board for the 2024 year. This is just a continuation of what we have done the last, I think, 3 years with Mr. McClellan. The election board has approved it unanimously, and we're asking this morning for your signatures.
Any questions?
it's always nice to have somebody's opinion. I move that we adopt,
Second.
A motion to approve this agreement and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. King? Yes. Ms. Reagan?
yes,
Mr. Henry?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have an agreement with United Consulting. John?
Yes, this is an agreement for a stormwater project, on the outskirts of Albany to deal with some stormwater issues. There's been two or three different redesigns. It's up towards it's just south of the, Perch Farm, or what used to be the Perch Farm there in Albany. It runs from 67 up north there. It deals with stormwater issues. This is an art project that was dedicated a while ago.
Is that the 433,000
Yes.
under, yeah, SR? I move we adopt.
Second. Have a motion to approve the agreement with Knight Consulting and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Ms. Henry.
Yes. Next, we have an employment agreement.
Yes, this is an employment agreement that, you requested that we enter into with the 911 director. For many years, the 911, system had been operated by, former police officers or whatever, and it created a mess, and Fred has come in and, cleaned up the entire process, professionalized the department, added, new equipment and new procedures, and, it's become a model now for 911 centers, and so it's important that you keep that continuity, at least that's your opinion, and I agree with that. And that Fred should have an employment agreement. This is for a 5-year agreement.
He's been worth his money, and I'm glad that we got the salary up a little bit.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion, to approve the employment agreement with Mr. Cummings, who's the 911 director, and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Ms. Henry.
Yes. All right, next we'll go to, resolutions for approval. Resolution number 2023-027, the Isaiah 117 house.
Yes. There's been a, request of Isaiah 117 house, and the commissioners have, indicated there's some property at, corner of, I think it's the southwest corner of Cornbread and Tillotson, to place the Isaiah house on, and this is to start the process for transferring it to a non-for-profit tax exempt entity. What this is you'll approve this resolution. There'll be a public hearing that will be held at the next meeting for Isaiah House to come in and give their presentation as to why it should be transferred to them. And then the property will be transferred to, if, with your approval, will be transferred to Isaiah House so they can start construction of their facility.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the resolution for the Isaiah house and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Ms. Henry.
Yes. Next, we have, department heads and elected officials. Sarah?
This is just the 2024 Commissioners meeting calendar that needs approved.
You know, I've often thought we should have it at 10 o'clock, and it's, we have many issues. I'll suggest 9:30 for next year. You like that idea, Sarah?
Whatever you guys want.
I'd keep it at 9. I would keep it as 9 as well.
I'll make a motion, we keep it at 9 AM and accept the dates that's presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, to approve the meeting times and dates. Roll call, please.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
No.
Ms. Henry.
Yes. Any other department heads or elected officials? Pam?
Pam McCammon, Director of Human Resources. I just want to remind everyone that this week until the December 12th is open enrollment. So if anyone has any changes, add-ons, or anything, this is the time to do it. We will have representatives from our insurance go around to each office to help anyone with their changes. And even if there are no changes, you still need to go in and say there are no changes. If you have trouble doing that, you can call the office and all three, Lee or Jenna or myself will be able to help you on that. But this is our open enrollment, so if you want to add on family members or something, this is the time to do it because we can't do it in mid-year.
Thank you. Thanks to your office for all your hard work too.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Gavin?
Gavin Green, Delaware County Coroner. I have presented to, Commissioner Henry and John Brook, a new ordinance that we would like to pass. I don't know if he's passed it to everyone else. Basically standardizing the cost that it would be for an autopsy report as well as a toxicology report. And then also increasing the salary ordinance for, how we pay our deputies for going out to a scene versus just a phone consultation. It's been, it's $1 a page, and you never know if it's gonna be 3 pages or 5 pages, so we take either money order or cash. We're not taking checks or credit cards. So shout out to Kyle Johnson. He's been helping me work out a web page to be able to take credit cards along with Jim Fluke, so we can take credit cards, so that it'll make us easier to just say, hey, an autopsy report is $25. You want a toxicology report, $25. So it'll be standardized across the board, because we're getting hit with fees and we're having to pay out more and more every day. Right now, our current pathologist is out on sick leave, so we're having to do transports over to St. Vincent's and Anderson. And so Mike's probably not going to be giving that to me for free for those transports, so I'm gonna be getting bills for them as well too. So we're trying to standardize that so that we can go even more paperless, and we have easy access to the public so they can get more reports. If you want a fun little thing to do, the Delaware County Coroner's Office has a Google review. We're at a 1-star right now, due to the fact that we are not paperless and we can't take anything over the internet. So with those standardized charges for the reports, and then increasing our salary ordinance from $100 and $25 to $125, and I believe it was $40 for a phone consultation versus going to a scene. So I've already emailed all of that stuff to Mr. Brook. He's gonna review it. So I was just letting you guys know, just so it'll be on your radar, so if you have any questions or anything.
Are those charges consistent with the other counties around? Paperwork?
Yes and no.
So,
Yeah, it's, some people are charging, some people are not, but there is no rhyme or reason, I will tell you that.
Yeah.
There is no rhyme or reason. So we're just trying to get along the same lines as if it's to get a death certificate from the Delaware County Health Department is $20. But they don't have the upwards of $1,800 cost per autopsy or death that we income. So they might have other costs, but it's a good chunk of money, and it's work product that we're giving away at $8, $4. Like, it's taken Rhiannon probably $20 worth of time to figure out how much it's gonna be, and then it's a shame to the public to have to go either get cash, which then there's fraud. I don't wanna say that there's gonna be fraud, but dealing with cash these days is just kinda crazy, so we're trying to streamline everything and get everything online, so
thank you.
just
I
wanna
like
let you
you've
guys know.
been doing a lot of research. Appreciate it.
No problem, thanks.
I do have a question, Mr.
Yep.
Green. The deputy coroners, are they included in the salary ordinance for the county council on their fees?
It is just a line item, it just says part-time. So they don't have an each individual, there's just one line item that just says deputy coroner part-time pay.
Okay, and is it just a lump sum from the county council that they appropriate?
Correct,
Okay, so that's why I was asking, if you want to increase the rates, then you can do that, because it affects the appropriation, but they don't specify it in their salary ordinance.
correct.
Okay,
I just know that my predecessor, he had to, when he came in, there was no like baseline, it was just, oh, give him $100, give him $50, kind of whatever. And so Rick said that he had to establish, I believe it was 5 years ago, just a set standard so everyone was all on the same page, because like you just said, it's a line item that just says, we're at $8,000 for, part-time work. Well, I could pay somebody $7,000 for a case and just be done, and there's no,
right, that's why I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure it wasn't in the salary ordinance, okay?
correct.
I'll put that in an ordinance for their consideration in the next meeting, okay?
All right, perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Dan?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Appreciate it. Dan White with the 2023 Fair Board. I think each of you have this sheet in front of you. We've been going through some of our rental programs that we rent out buildings on the fairgrounds. And we've come across our nicest one, which is the Heartland. And the way it's designed with the bathroom being in the north end of it, it's created a few problems. People will opt to rent the south end, which has more square footage at a cheaper rate. And then they want to be able to come inside and use the restrooms, cutting through the middle section and cutting through the north end section versus walking outdoors, which I can't blame them. But then this keeps us from renting the north end on the same day. So, do you want me to run by these prices real quick for everybody?
Let everybody take a look. Is there any questions
Yeah.
about what he's trying to
What we're
do?
doing, we're keeping the total for the day at $675. That's what it was in the past. And we've upped the daily rate, so all three halls are the same price. So now when they go in, instead of trying to find the cheaper hall, they're probably gonna go to the north hall first, then they'll have access to the bathrooms. The other thing we're doing is upping the meeting room to full-time price as well. People are coming in and renting our meeting room for $100, having access to the restrooms, and now we can't rent the north end of the building. So this way we'll still get our price regardless. And then if they want to rent the kitchen, they must rent the north hall. So in the past, they rent the south hall, then they rent the kitchen, and so now they cut through the other two halls to utilize the kitchen. So I think by putting all three of these at the same price, they'll start renting the north hall with the bathrooms first versus the other way around. So I'm just kind of asking you guys permission if it's,
I think it's a great idea. Dan
this will be
talked to me
fine to up
about
the
it.
price over there in
I
Heartland.
think it's a good idea. and he's
Yeah.
Worked
It's,
on it.
Start creating more funding out there.
Yeah.
yeah, appreciate it, Dan.
John, does this have to be in a resolution?
Hmm,
And do you know, is there a resolution or an ordinance now with charges in it?
I
Or
don't
is it-
know,
is
we
it
have the charges on it. I don't know who came up with that. It was before my time, and I don't know if they had a resolution on that or not.
Okay.
we probably ought to formalize that, just,
That's what I think,
yeah,
yeah.
if you could send me all the charges,
For,
these increases plus all the other charges, then I can prepare something for the commissioners to adopt.
Appreciate it.
all your, just all your rental charges, everything,
On the whole campus.
on the whole thing.
Okay,
If you can send John a list of that, plus with the new sheet, then next meeting, we can approve it. Can you have that done by next meeting, John?
Yes.
do I need to appear?
No, I think we know what you want.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thanks. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Hi, Commissioners. Tommy Humbert, Delaware County Highway Department. You guys have a drawing. I've talked to you guys before about this. Just wanted to really get this with John so he can deduct that off the farm ground in the back. We're gonna go 300 feet to the north, 300 feet on the east and west side, and then we're gonna square it off. So it's gonna be a 600 by 300 foot area. I have talked to the farmer out there, John, and he does know that that change is gonna be made, the one that's got it cash rented.
Okay.
And if you have any questions on anything, but it just pretty much squares everything off. The reason we're doing that is we're expanding with some of our storage out there for different stones and stuff. And it's making it be easier for us to comply with stormwater warning containment of all the stuff. We've done a lot of upgrades here in the last year, complying with everything the stormwater wanted. And this will also allow us to, in that section, be able to take care of the rainforest better, or the rain garden, I'm sorry, and also the pond on the far west side.
Good.
I think it's a good idea. And you need more room.
And we're, like I said, we're gonna put the fence up, we're gonna put 4 strands of high tensile wire. We couldn't afford chain link, it was outrageous. So this will be good though, this will keep everything contained. We will not have vehicles or anything like that, anything high dollar stuff. It'll be our culverts, stuff like that, you know.
Very good. Appreciate it.
Also, Kiri's gonna know more about this than I do. I wasn't there, so I'll let her talk to you guys. I actually talked to James about it, and then Kiri kind of took over on it.
And just real quick, do we want a motion to approve this extension? Somebody want to make a
So
motion?
moved.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion to approve the, extension of the ground out there at County Highway in a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Ms. Henry.
Yes, and then John, can you prepare the farm ground contract minus this, please? Okay, go ahead, Carrie, I'm sorry.
Okay, we received a complaint that a homeowner had put up a fence, in an alleyway out in Hamilton Township. We sent Troy out to look at the area. Also, I talked with Fred at the Planning Commission. It is a platted alley. It's 15 feet wide and it is for public access.
So the alley they're talking about is, it's all grass. I don't know that it's used a great deal, but apparently there's some kind of dispute out there. They put a wooden decorative fence up on both sides of this alley blocking it. I guess since it is an alley and it's plotted as one, I think we ought to have John write that individual a letter to remove the fence. Would that be appropriate, John?
I can do that.
And will you guys get with John after this and give the address and everything to the area that's the problem?
Absolutely.
And they do use the alleyway, right? Somebody does use
It has been used. The individual that complained about it said that Miller Pipeline had been doing some work in the area on their road. And so they had to use the alleyway to leave their property. And after that did happen, that's when the homeowner put the fence up.
I didn't know if we didn't use the alleyway, if we could contact both landowners and vacate the alley and I guess split it right down the middle. But if they use it, then,
We like to get them back on the tax.
then if they're using the alleyway, then that'd be my only thought.
We could look into that too.
Yeah, I don't disagree. What if John sent a letter and just see what kind of reaction we get?
That's fine.
You guys okay with that?
Yeah.
That sound all right, John?
Yep, that's fine.
Thank you.
Okay.
Might
Thank
send
you.
a letter to both homeowners.
Any other department heads or elected officials? All right, next we have the payment of claims of $26,384,407.97, of which $24,634,315.19 was the fall draw, correct, Ed?
Advancement.
Yeah. So the actual total of the claims was $1,750,092.80, I believe, if my math was right. And then the payment of ARP claims of $126,606.50.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion to pay the claims in a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes. All right, next we have, public comment. You will be limited to 3 minutes. John, could you keep my time, please?
I will.
The first person we have is Cheryl Dawson.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to speak on something you probably are tired of hearing about, but it's the solar ordinance. And the reason I want to speak is I'm coming very late to this. I own about 223 acres, at the corner of Wheeling Avenue and State Road 28. The largest portion of this acreage was my grandparents' farm, which has now been in our family for 80 years. I attended the meeting in November at the Justice Center because I really did not know much about all of this until, other than what I'd read in the newspaper. And I thought I should go listen. And then I became concerned. I reached out to one of my neighbors shortly thereafter, and I learned that he's already signed a lease for solar. And I do like this family very much, but I'm very opposed to the panels being placed on his farm for a couple reasons. One, immediately following the November meeting, I started reading a lot about solar. I did read a lot of the information on the Planning Commission's website, and I did look through the notes from the panel. that consisted of opponents and proponents. And I guess my main concern I want to speak on today is drainage issues. It seemed that the notes for that report from that panel was sparse. I didn't sense from reading that there was a lot of discussion on it. I may be wrong about that, but there was no vote on that. And going back to read the solar ordinance as it exists now without the modifications, recent ones, it refers back to the drainage ordinance to dictate what happens with these solar panels. And I have yet to get a copy of the county drainage ordinance. I have reached out to the surveyor's office and have not heard back. And I was looking online for it and I haven't successfully found it. But anyway, my neighbor's field has a history of poor drainage. The topography goes like this, like a V. Water historically has stood in it. There are county tiles in his field, 2 other fields, and mine. So it's a shared mutual drain that's county-owned and maintained. In his field, there are 2 branches that merge like a Y into one, and then runs through my field to an open county ditch, which is, I would consider a waterway in the county because I believe it does connect eventually to White River. Is that my 3 minutes?
That's your 3 minutes.
That's your 3 minutes. Angie, do you have that?
It's on my webpage. If you want to leave me your email address or your mailing address, I'd be happy to get you a copy.
Okay. My last comment, if I may, is just I feel like more attention needs to be given to this before the ordinance is finally passed.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
I will.
Next is John Taylor.
Again, thank you for allowing me to speak, and I'm sure you're tired of hearing about this. I was on the advisory group, and I didn't get to speak at the meeting 2 weeks ago, until after the vote was taken. And I regret that I wasn't able to speak because I think that the confusion about the distance from the house or the property line was a problem. When I spoke at the Plan Commission meeting, I said that I wanted to increase the setback. What I was referring to was the distance from a residence for the solar panels to be placed. And I'd like to see this put back in front of the Plan Commission. I know that the last vote was taken just to include the total acreage, but I think that if I'd been had a chance to speak, like my friend Tim Nickum was able to speak before the vote was taken. He and I served on that committee together and we had long discussions. We don't agree on everything, but I do care about property values. And I think that the setback, a negotiable setback to from 500 feet is the best compromise we can make on guaranteeing property values for the residents. So I'd like to see that added to the Plan Commissioners meeting, and it may not be the next meeting, but I don't want to see the resolution passed as it was approved without that being reviewed again. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next is Robert Coaster.
Thank you for making time available. My name is Robert Kester. I live at 2709 West Burnell Drive here in the city. I've lived there for 40 years. I just have a few points to observe in response to the kinds of things that John just mentioned. And this is the way I've been thinking about the solar ordinance. Farmers harvest the sun. They grow corn, they grow soybeans. They sometimes grow more diversified crops, or they raise livestock who feed off that same land. PV electrical production is itself a harvest of the sun, and it can be compatible with food production and livestock production. The reason for any setback from a solar field to occupants on nearby property is to create a line of sight setback from where they reside so that it sets the solar farm back away from where they occupy their property. Such line of sight distance from a dwelling recognizes that the location of the residence is the primary criterion for visual control. Property line setbacks instead of line of sight dwelling setbacks is a bad neighbor policy because it limits the productive use of adjacent land. Farmers should continue to have the freedom to use their land all the way to their property lines to harvest the sun, whether to grow crops, raise livestock, or generate electricity. Farmers need the freedom to employ their land use diversity for food production, livestock husbandry, and solar harvest to assure income stability. This approach to harvesting the sun not only provides farmers diversified annual income, but also the assurance of a lineage of farmstead inheritance. If the farm can't thrive, it's not readily transferred to the heirs. An equally important impact is for the greater good of our county, our state, and our country. Land use ordinances must be made to benefit the full community of citizens, and solar harvesting of electrical production meets that criterion. Specifically, an increase in property taxes for the community, an increase in sales taxes for the state, immediate employment for those involved in the construction of the solar farm, and longer-term employment for those who operate the facility. I would encourage you to follow what John suggested, bring this back to the commissioners so that this 500-foot setback from property line can be replaced with a 500 setback from residence, so that a 40-acre farm is not limited to 6 acres of solar production. Thank you.
Next is Linda Hanson.
Good morning. I'm Linda Hanson. I am the spokesperson for the League of Women Voters in Muncie, Delaware County. I want to call your attention to the number of people behind the League's position supporting utility-scale solar projects in Delaware County. When the League adopts a position, the issue must have undergone extensive research and study, a meeting open to membership and the public, circulation of the proposed position among membership, and a formal vote by membership. On May 8th, 2023, the League of Women Voters of Muncie, Delaware County adopted a position supporting utility-scale solar energy installations in Delaware County and urging an end to the moratorium that was passed in 2022. I speak for our approximately 100 members, as well as more than 400 people who have since signed our petition to support our lobbying for a sound solar ordinance in Delaware County. Respectfully, we ask that you hear us, a group of nearly 500 residents. We chose a petition as a more efficient and less troublesome way to communicate with you. We have been respectful. During the moratorium, the study committee was charged with making recommended amendments to the existing solar ordinance to continue to mitigate the impacts of solar facilities while not preventing solar farms in Delaware County. The recommendations by Marta Moody and the Solar Task Force would have met that goal. Regrettably, one of the amendments to resolution number 2023-07 that you did not discuss at your November 20th meeting will likely not achieve that end. The major sticking point that could scuttle any solar investment in Delaware County is the setback that was extended at the Plan Commission meeting on November 2nd, apparently without study or awareness of the impact on solar installations and on viable use of the farmland placed in the setbacks. We believe the setback should have been 250 feet around residences, or to take Bob Kester's recommendation, but certainly not 500 feet from the property lines of non-participating landowners. State guidelines recommend 250 feet from a non-participating dwelling. That was the standard in the resolution presented to the Plan Commission on November 2nd, what the study group agreed to, and what the consultant reviewed and recommended. If an ordinance is passed with such severe limitations that solar companies cannot or will not be able to comply, Delaware County will lose millions of dollars in revenue. All benefits that Delaware County could sorely use. Please put the setback requirement on your December 18th meeting agenda. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Sue Arrington?
Thank you, Commissioners, for giving us this opportunity to speak again. I am Sue Arrington, 3200 West Brook Drive, here in Muncie. And I'm here today because I feel strongly that the 500-foot setback in recently passed solar ordinance must be reduced. I was at the Plan Commission meeting when it was amended into the ordinance with absolutely no discussion by commission members or the public. It is twice the footage that MARTA had written into the original draft. And a task force that came out of the moratorium did not recommend it to the Plan Commission. It seems to have come out of the blue, with no modeling its effect that someone like Kyle Johnson could easily do to evaluate the impact of the setback. So I urge you to give him or someone with that experience to the assignment of evaluating the impact of the setback. Farmers have testified that a setback of this magnitude will result in excessive amounts of idle land that cannot be farmed. What if there is a highway between the solar facility and a neighboring property? Does the 500-foot setback prevail in that case? I spoke with Joe Russell yesterday. He has calculated that the 500-foot setback from the property line over a period of the 30-year life of your typical solar facility will result in a total wastage of 50,000 acres. This is land that is not producing energy. It's land that's not producing crops. And it far exceeds the state default setback of at least 50 feet from a non-participating property. If there is a dwelling on that neighboring property, the state calls for the distance to be 250 feet from the outer edge of the solar array to the nearest point on the outer wall of the dwelling. I believe MARTA did her homework and took the state default recommendation into the consideration when she wrote in a 250-foot setback in the original draft that the Plan Commission had before it at the February 2022 hearing. Delaware County is already far behind our neighboring counties in adopting an ordinance and taking advantage of the economic benefits that they, our neighbors, are already reaping. We will not be eligible for the incentives the state is offering to counties that meet the requirements of the Commercial Solar Energy Ready Communities program that is within the Indiana Office of Energy Development. Yes, we have an ordinance, but it is flawed. Thank you for hearing me out, and I urge your,
I have a question for you, Ms. Arrington.
pardon me?
I have a question for you.
Okay,
You are a state representative, right?
yes,
So you're one of our state legislators, correct?
yes.
Is this 250 that you're talking about, did you guys pass that into law, or is that just a recommendation to counties to use as for setback? Because if I'm right, if this was passed into law, most laws that's passed by the state and becomes a bill at the state and a law at the state would supersede any ordinance that we would pass. Is that correct?
This
So
was
if you
not
guys, if you
written,
guys did a solar ordinance or a solar bill that makes the statement that this is what the setback, this is what the state sets the setback, this is what the state, you create a solar ordinance, wouldn't that be what all counties would go by? Or did you guys just do a recommendation?
no, we did two bills. One in 2022 and the other one in 2023. Setting it up, it didn't go into this specific an amount. So it's not something that's required of every county. But it is a best practices that the state is recommending. And in order to receive or be eligible for the incentives that these bills have created, we're far beyond what would be acceptable.
Right, but the state could have passed a bill, correct? That
Well, as a
could
matter
have-
of fact, there was.
That could have done everything that you're telling us, the state could have created a bill, what each county would have had to go by. Instead, you made recommendations for the local officials to create their own ordinances, correct?
Yes, in
And then you guys can
2022,
show up and say, this is what we recommend, but it's more or less for us to pass, correct?
yes, it is for you to pass.
But it could have been done at the state level, correct?
Yeah, there wasn't, there was a possibility in 2022. The original, bill was a mandate. But, people resist mandates. And so it was determined that we should make it, more flexible.
For the
That the
local
counties would
officials.
it's county zoning. And so that's why the state, the legislature sort of backed away and then just made it more, try to use a carrot rather than a
Make
stick.
recommendations and not actually pass it, correct?
Right.
That way, that way it takes it off the state legislators and it more or less moves it to the county or the elected officials of the local government, correct?
Yes.
More or less.
Do you think you'll ever pass the bill at the state level?
That mandates it?
Yeah.
I don't know, as people learn more about the grid and the demands on the grid, we've got to have more, ability to generate electricity. And what we're seeing from places that already have, solar facilities and wind farms, they are able to generate that. And if we have some here in Delaware County, I think it's sort of like back in the day of the gas boom. That was sort of a scary idea for a lot of people. But there were people who had the vision that here's a way into the future. You can't just look behind you. You have to see what's ahead too. And that's what we're asking you to do. Look at where we're situated here in East Central Indiana. We're right next to the PJM, the I&M's electricity lines. We're in an excellent position to capitalize on the changes that are happening in the energy world.
Have you discussed with any of the state representatives that are here locally to create a bill
Yes,
and take it back to the state? Have you?
Not to mandate anything. No, I haven't talked about that, but I have talked with them about this ordinance. And,
So you guys really haven't talked about taking it to the state and having the state create something? You just want to make recommendations and then bring it to the local government and say, this is our recommendation for you guys to follow, correct?
well, yes, but there are incentives if you follow it.
Oh, I know there's incentives in a lot of things. I'm just saying is a lot of times the state will make recommendations, but they push it off on the local government to make these changes and to do these changes. And actually, from my understanding, is the gentleman sitting in the front row is the one that actually brought up to increase the setbacks. Now, he wants to decrease the setbacks.
Yeah, but not in the way that they happened. It wasn't from property line to property line.
All right, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Katie Williams? Okay. Nate Howard?
Morning. Nate Howard, Muncie Land Bank, not solar related. With Commissioner King and Mr. Bookout, the first week of November, November 7th to 10th. We spent 4 days in Austin, Texas at the Vacant Property Leadership Institute, which was a competitive process to get invited to go as Muncie, Delaware County. And I just wanted to publicly thank them for taking time out of their busy schedules to come, learn about land banking, learn about dealing with vacant, abandoned, and deteriorating property. We had some interesting conversations. One of the limitations that we're facing at the land bank is that we're not really able to operate outside of the city limits. And we'd love to talk about what creative ways there would be for us to be able to get around that, because I know that a lot of the issues that you see very vividly in Muncie, you're also seeing in some of the small towns around Muncie. We also have made a couple ask for property, and I think those are kind of in the works there. I'm available to answer any questions and have more conversation. And last, I just wanted to say we're having a community event on this Friday from 5 to 7 p.m. at the yard, the old McCarty Lumber site, Eco Rehab's office. And there, we have a monthly meeting called First Friday, which is public, and we get folks from all over to come and speak about issues related to housing development and abandoned and vacant property. We normally have that the first Friday of each month. We're having this time the second Friday, December 8th. And we're having 2 Ball State students that have been doing work related to housing development, abandoned property in Muncie, present their findings. Everybody's welcome. You're all welcome to come along. But yeah, more than anything, I just wanted to thank Commissioner King and Mr. Bookout for coming. It was a great week and got to know each other a little bit better, but a lot of ideas that we hope we can continue working on going forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Howard. Appreciate you being here.
All right, any other comments?
I would like for John to look into that. When I attended my first land bank meeting about 4 or 5 years ago, that I believe Ed, or the current treasurer, was there at that time, since they have a seat on the board. But over in Ohio, they were very impressive. Over in Ohio, they had 52 counties that were involved in the land bank. So I would hope that we could have Mr. Brooke look on some resolution, or so we could expand the current. We wouldn't have to necessarily change the name, but it'd be nice, but give them some money out of our edit funds that are growing to help with the finances.
I'll take a look at that.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Another thing I have is, John, actually, if we do want to change this residence, this 500 feet to the resident neighbor, should we do that today? Because the plan commission's going to be meeting the 14th.
You've already made a recommendation that's going back on November 20th to the Plan Commission for the number of acres. And so that's what your official action was. I don't think you can do it again today. That could be something that the Plan Commission can make a recommendation to send to the commissioners as another amendment to the solar ordinance.
So they could bring it up,
They can bring it
and
absolutely.
then it would come back to us on the 18th. Is your meeting the 14th?
13th.
13th, yes.
13th, yeah, 13th at 6 p.m.
Well, I just wanted to clear it so we
Yeah, I
didn't.
think that's the way it would be. They sent you the solar ordinance, you sent it back for one issue.
Right.
For them to consider, but as part of the process, they can consider another amendment, which would start the process as to that issue to the commissioners again.
So we would just have to make sure that they did their homework. Thank you.
Anything else? Motion to recess?
Second.
We have a motion to recess and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. King? Yes. Ms. Reagan?
Yes.
Centering?
Yes.
James, you going back to work?